The template designer lets you create any type of layouts for your screens. You can create layouts for single or multiple screens, and both portrait and landscape screen orientations are supported. You're only limited by your imagination. To launch the template designer, right-click the Content Manager window and select Add Template. The template designer will open with a solid black background. Think of this as your empty canvas where you'll build your own custom layout. Let's begin by naming our template. Click in the Empty Name field and enter a descriptive name. It's a good idea to do this first because you can't save a template until it has been named. Next is the screen configuration. By default, you start with a landscape 1920 by 1080 pixel template. If this is different than your screen settings, simply edit the width and height fields to match the screen resolution and orientation. For a full HD portrait screen, you would enter 1080 by 1920. Next, we'll look at the timing options. There are two options available, manual and automatic. Every new template starts in manual mode with a duration of 20 seconds and will remain this way until you either change the duration manually or add content with a different duration. If you add static content to the template, you can adjust the manual duration as needed. The manual option will be shown until you add content that has a specific duration, like a playlist or a media zone. When these elements are added to the template, the timing option switches to automatic, and the displayed time will match the duration of the longest running content added to the template. So if you add a playlist with 45 seconds worth of content, the template duration will automatically match it. However, you can switch back to normal mode at any time and enter another duration. If you enter 1 minute, the content will play once, and then start over and play for another 15 seconds, at which point the template ends and we move on. You can adjust the current template view with the zoom slider next to the duration settings. Next, we move on to the background layer. By default, the background is solid black, so you can either leave it as is, or you can pick another color, or even an image. To select a color, click the Background tab on the left. Select Color, and then click the black square below to open the color selector. You can either select the color by clicking in the selector window, or you can enter a hexadecimal code in the field below. To assign a background image, click on the Type pull-down menu and select Image. Background images must be uploaded and saved in the template designer. They can't be selected from assets stored in the content library. To upload a new image, click Add and then select an image and click Upload to add it to the list. You can also upload an image by right-clicking in the list and selecting New. To remove an image from the list, right-click the image and select Remove. The image list can be scrolled, or you can use the search field to find a specific background image. Once you've found your image, double-click it and it will be assigned to the background layer. Notice that background images are automatically resized to fit the template. Templates can contain many elements. Let's go over each one. At the top of the window, you'll notice 5 items. They are the text box, the geographic shape, the current date field, the current time field, and the data grid. Click the text box icon to add it to your template. the text box will always appear in the middle of your template. The default text color is gray, and the font will be Arial. You can drag and resize the text box using your mouse, or by changing its X and Y coordinates, or its height and width values. Just type in the number of pixels in the appropriate field. Note, this method can be used with any template element, and whenever you click on something, always pay attention to the left side tabs. Different tabs will open to show you the options and settings that apply to the currently selected item. To edit the text, delete the default message in the left field or double-click in the text box to edit the text in place. When the edit function is active, the border will change to red, and a small button will appear in the upper right corner. You can also change the font, text alignment, font size, and color. Basically, all typographic functions are regrouped together. When you're finished, click the Edit button to confirm. Let's move this text box to the top of our template. It will be our title. Next, we'll add a geometric shape to our template. Click the New Shape button. The shape appears in the middle of the template. By default, the shape will be a rectangle with no visible border. The shape's fill will be white with a transparency value of 50%. While the shape is selected, you can access its properties under the Shape tab on the left. Available shapes are rectangle or ellipse. You can assign a border color, border line thickness, and apply a corner angle to round out the corners. By default, shapes are assigned a solid fill. You can also set the fill to be a gradient. The first color menu sets the solid fill. The second one sets the secondary color for gradients. You can also set a transparency value for your colors. Let's resize this rectangle and position it across the top of the screen. Start by entering x equals 0 and y equals 0 to anchor your rectangle in the upper left corner of the screen. Next, enter 1920 in the width field and 170 in the height. Next, let's send the shape behind the text. You can move layers back and forth as needed by right-clicking on the item and then selecting their new order. You can lock any element. While locked, you can only move elements by changing their X and Y coordinates or resize them by changing their height and width values. Elements can also be duplicated by copying and pasting them. To delete an item, select Remove. Our template is taking shape, so let's add more elements. Click the Date icon to add a date field. Set the text size, color, and alignment. You can also change the date and time settings depending on your local needs. Next, click the time icon to add a time field. Notice the text size, color, and alignment match the previous settings. QL remembers the settings of the last text or data field you selected. This is a very useful feature. We'll skip the data grid icon for now, as it will be covered in our data feed video. Let's look at some of the other elements we can add to our template. On the right side, we have a series of tabs. Top layer images are meant to be displayed on top of all of other template elements. You can import JPEGs or PNG files, and transparency is supported. These images must be imported just like background images. They aren't retrieved from your content library. You can use a top layer image to add a company logo, or you can create masks with transparent areas and add them to your layout. Let's start by adding a ping file to our list. Click the Top Layers tab. Right-click on the list and select New. Select the image to upload and then click Upload to continue. Once the image has been added to the list, drag and drop it into your template. You can resize the image and it will retain its proportions. Move it into its final location and then right-click it to select Lock. This will prevent someone from moving the image by mistake. Remember that top layer images must be uploaded and managed in the template designer. These images will appear in the list and you can use the search field to find what you're looking for. Next, we look at the playlist and media zones. These zones let you play a mix of content anywhere on screen. To begin, click the Playlist tab and see the list of available playlists. Drag and drop any playlist into the template to create a new zone. The playlist content will scale to fit the zone automatically when it plays. You can add multiple zones to your layout, and when you do, the playlists in each zone will loop until the longest playlist is finished. If you want, you can change this behavior and have each shorter playlist pause until the longest one has finished. You can drag more than one playlist inside a zone. Drag each one into the same zone and their content will play in sequence. To rearrange the order or remove a playlist, double-click anywhere in the zone. Click the Edit button when you're done. Playlists already containing templates can't be used inside other templates. If someone adds or deletes content in one of the reference playlists, the changes will be reflected in the template automatically. Be sure to publish an update to the players to make sure the changes appear on your screens. Playlist properties are retained when the content plays in a template zone. For example, playlists that are muted or that are set to random play will do so when used in a template zone. Media zones are like playlist zones with the following exceptions. You add individual items from the content library using the search feature. Just drag and drop the content into the template to create a new one. You can add more than one media item to any zone. Each item will play in sequence. To edit the contents of a media zone, double-click it to enter edit mode, and then you can reorder or delete items. Once you're done, click the Edit button to exit. Playlist and media zones can be positioned anywhere on screen. Zones can touch, but they may not overlap. You can't save your template if any zones overlap. Only text zones, geometric shapes, date, time, and top layers can overlap playlists and media zones. Once a template is saved, you'll be able to access its properties, and these will match other types of content. You access the properties in the designer using the link next to the View slider. Template properties are like media properties. You can temporarily disable the template. Disabled templates are ignored in a playlist. You can see if the template has been modified. Click the right arrow to load the next page. You can suppress any active ticker while the template is shown. You can mute the content of the template. You can assign meta tags, and when these match with player tags, the template will be shown. You can modify the template validity settings. By default, all templates are valid from the moment they're created and saved. You can set validity periods in advance, so content is only shown for a specific period, or on specific days, or at specific times. Click the right arrow to load the next page. This is where you configure rule-based playback, which we will cover in a separate video. By default, you can perform a template name search. Adding keywords help you refine your results. You can add as many keywords as required, just leave a space between them. The advertising section is where you can type in a descriptive metadata such as a customer name or an advertising reference. Say Coca-Cola and a reference winter campaign. This information will be picked up in your analytical reports where it can be used to filter results. Click Save to confirm your changes. Please note the Data Feed Manager will be reviewed in a separate video. This concludes our video on the Template Designer. Be sure to visit www.navori.com for more information.